This is Steve from Boxing UK in association with Supreme CBD. Enzo Maccarinelli, how are you, fella?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Steve. Long time, mate. Long time.
It is. It is. I did see you kicking around in Wembley, but you were out of shouting range.
Yeah, I was about enjoying myself. I took a couple of my young fighters up there as a treat for a fantastic year they've had. I phoned Frank. He sorted all the boys out with tickets. They had a great time. Like,
Brilliant. Enzo, normally after a fight like that, we would just talk about the fight and everything, but with what's happened since, I don't know where to start. Um,
you start, mate, and I'll answer.
yeah, right. We'll start with the fight itself, Enzo. It went as most people expected. Can you talk us through it from your point of view?
To be honest, it didn't go as expected for me. I really thought Usyk was going to win. I think Usyk's a fantastic fighter, and I think no matter what Daniel would have done, I think Usyk would have had an answer. But I was expecting him to use his size, his strength, which obviously he does have over Usyk. He's very very strong, big unit, and I expected to get in close, tuck up nice and tight, don't punch from a distance where you give Usyk an opportunity to land, jump on him, drag him, pull him, basically give up the first 6 rounds. Old Ricky Hatton type, obviously not with the movement, but Ricky on him constantly in his face, like he done with Costas, who he was on his chest. I didn't allow Costas who that time and that leverage to throw his shots. And that's what I was expecting of Dubois. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he would have won that way either. But I just think he did a harder night. He could have dragged Usyk in, used his strength, used his explosiveness and his weight, but just lay on his chest, just limit that limit that distance Usyk likes to have when he punches. And he didn't do that. He was trying to punch from afar. You punch from afar with Usyk, you're on hiding to nothing anyway. And if you look, that's where he got caught with the shot. He come
Yeah.
punch far too much of a distance out, and he just got clipped coming in.
Yeah, the ending, Enzo, there's been a little bit of debate with some pretty high profile boxers involved, whether Dubois quit, because as soon as the count reached 10, he got up and walked back to the corner. Did he quit in your eyes, Enzo, or was it a sensible?
It's an hard one to be honest, mate, because on paper it looks like he does, and what's hard to explain is when you get walloped and you get rocked.
Yeah,
Don't know what's going through your mind. My instinct is that, as I've shown in the past, I get up too quick. I want to fucking fight, and my legs are all over the place. So
yeah,
don't know what's going through his head. But it's not the first time he's done it. I think if it was the first time, you could give him a benefit of the doubt. He could have been, as Ron McIntosh used to say, discombobulated, didn't know
yeah,
where he was, and it's hard to explain to someone who's never experienced that what's going through your mind. You don't know. But my instinct will always, just get up, and half the time I got up too quickly,
yeah.
so I don't know. But he has done it before, and I heard people say the towel has come in, so he didn't really quit, but I think the tower came in on 9, and he was still down. So it's a hard one. Or if I was looking at it as a fan and seeing the other three, it looks like he was out. But again, you don't know what state he was in his mind at the time.
Yeah, you talk about the corner, Enzo, and the towel coming in again. There's a lot of controversy around that corner being a little bit fragmented, and Daniel taking no notice of Don Charles and looking at his dad.
Well, I am seeing the fight back. Obviously, I only seen what was there on the night. But I have heard that he was looking outside the ring for his father. And I know Don, and I think Don's a great guy, and I think Don has drastically improved Daniel's confidence. You see those the fights with Hergovich and Miller.
Yeah,
I think Don's a great guy, but if if the fighter is looking out to someone else, obviously he's not in the right frame of mind. He should be concentrated on the opponent. I remember in a fight with Enzo Calzaghe in my corner. I think it was
yeah,
March. My mind wandered outside. I can't remember who I was looking at. He slapped me across the chops. Fucking, I'm the coach. I'm the fucking main man. And
yeah,
as a fighter, when things aren't going your way, you look for the person who you trust the most. and it should have been Don Charles. But obviously he's looking for his dad. His dad's not a fighter by or an ex-boxer by what I can gather. So he should be looking at the person who spent all the time with him and geared the game plan to him, which would be Don Charles and Kieran Farrell.
That was the controversy, Enzo. And then, as you've seen, the last 24 hours, it's broke that there was a party of about 70 or 80 people at the house. Daniel didn't know half of them and asked to leave. He had to walk to the arena. He was there less than 2 hours before fight. As a non-boxer, Enzo, that sounds absolutely insane. But then when you've got the likes of Joseph Parker in the TalkSport studio saying it is insane, can you make head and tail of that, Enzo? It's the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, and that's happening.
Man, don't get me wrong, mate. All people are different. All people are different. But for Daniel to be there, and again, it's only things we have heard, and I've heard on TalkSport like you. He didn't know no one there. He wanted to go out for a drive. Then the father has taken all the people at the party over to the arena. They weren't allowed in because they didn't have tickets. Then again, what I'm hearing and what you have heard, he has been told that if they're not allowed in, that's got to upset Daniel. That's
Yeah,
got look. People will jump on it. Oh, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. Usyk's that good. It wouldn't have mattered. It does matter. It does. He was up against it anyway, and he needed the best opportunity to win that fight. It was hard enough as it is, and
yeah,
by someone who I don't know which way to say this, but he doesn't look like he's all there all the time. He looks like he's very very led
yeah,
in his ways. For him to be there, not feel comfortable there, and have to go for a drive, it's just madness. But I can tell you one thing now: if if Frank Warren would have known about that party, if Frank would have known what was going on, he would have put a stop to it. I can imagine him. I haven't spoke to him, but I can
yeah,
imagine him furious. It was one fight I was in. I won't mention no names, but I was really ill, and people around me knew I was ill, and they let me go through with it. He didn't know. I know he went mental with me after it because he would have pulled me out. He wouldn't have cared. And people say a lot of things about Frank. He
yeah.
really cares for his fighters. And if he'd have known about that, especially on that day with the biggest night of his life, his life has changed anyway. But that could have saved his legacy. Uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
and I can guarantee, like I said, I haven't spoken to Frank yet, but I can guarantee that he would have been furious and he would have sent people around there and he would have stopped that there and then. I just think it's absolute madness. And like I said, sorry to ramble on, but like I said, everyone's different. Some
Yeah,
people enjoy, some people enjoy loads of loud music, loud like friends. You look at the picture of Usyk. He's in He's in the changing room. He's got his cross behind him, so that's his belief. He's reading books, he's focusing on whatever he was reading. He's got his belt at the side of him, that's his motivation. He was there, he was controlled, he was in the Daniel Dubois, who has had confidence problems in the past, he's at a party where he doesn't know anyone and he's asking to leave to go for a drive. Then then they travel over the arena an hour and a half before. It takes a good half hour to get your bandages wrapped. So he's over there half hour before with all this commotion there, or hour and a half before, with all this commotion of his father wanting these people in. And again, and I'm sorry to say, but it's what we've heard. We've heard like you, we've heard of Talk Sport, same as me of Simon Jordan, Joe Parker, Alonso Corley, and I was just flabbergasted seeing the party. I was flabbergasted just hearing what I've heard as well.
Don Charles has been on today and confirmed it, Enzo.
What did he confirm? Sorry, Steve.
He's confirmed that the party took place and that there was 60, 70 people there. It was similar to what they had before the AJ fight. And Don
Mm.
Charles was trying to rationalize it today. He didn't sound very convincing, by the way, that it's their way, extraordinary way of trying to boost up Daniel's confidence.
Okay, I get that side of things, and as I like Don and all that. I get that side of things. But if the boy doesn't want to be there, if the boy has to go to a drive in a car to get away from it all, that's not the best. So I don't know whether Don is being protective. Um, but if he doesn't want to be there and he has to go for a drive, uh, mentally that's got to have fucked him up.
Yeah,
And it's just a mad one, Stephen.
yeah,
An emotion then of threatening to pull Daniel out if these boys don't get allowed into the arena. That has got to play with him. And then
yeah,
in the looking at his dad, he's not looking at Don Charles. Don should have been the one. When things, I'm a coach now. I've been a coach for a long, long time. I was a coach when I was fighting as well. When my boys are in the ring, when they are fighting, they come back to the corner. They come back to the corner. They lose in the fight. If things aren't going right, I'm the boss.
yeah,
I'm the boss. I'm there for them to see guidance. I tell them what to do. They got to have belief in me to listen to what I'm saying. But then for him to look at his dad, not Don. So I don't know whether his dad's telling him something in the house, he's telling him things to do, overruling Don, because
yeah.
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Because one,
Enzo,
one, one of my boys look out the ring at someone, many a time I fucking know, fuck, I'm the boss. Look at me, stop looking outside. No one's gonna
yeah,
fucking help outside.
as it should be, yeah,
And that's what it should be. And that's
yeah,
the way I fought with my dad, Enzo Calzaghe. I've seen Enzo scream at Joe in the middle of the ring in the corner because Joe hadn't focused.
yeah.
So that's what it should be.
And that's the argument because a lot of people say your dad should never be a trainer, but you got Joe Calzaghe and Enzo.
But look, it can work. It
Yeah,
can work. You look at Bill Haney and Devon.
yeah,
Okay, I think Bill's gone a bit over the top. I think he likes the limelight, and I don't like that side of things.
yeah,
But it can work.
yeah,
It can work, but it's got to be. It's like Enzo. In all fairness to Enzo, Enzo treated his Joe not like his son on fight night. He was a fighter,
yeah,
and that's the way it should be. And no, I was close with Enzo as well. But like I said, he slapped me around the fucking chops. I had my mind off something else. He whacked me out. Fucking listen to me.
yeah. Brave man. Enzo, you've talked about Frank. Can Frank do anything moving forward to help Daniel? Because, and I can't think of a better way of putting it. Daniel does seem like quite a vulnerable young man in a heavyweight fighter's body. Can Frank do anything regarding Daniel's future and stopping a repeat of that happening?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. If anyone can, it's Frank.
Yeah,
I can't speak highly enough of Frank. He everything he promised me, he gave me. It's still to this day. I still speak to him, and like I said, I phoned him up 2 weeks ago. I asked him for tickets for the boys. Yeah, no problem, man. You want big man? He will do anything he can, and he will always be there for his fighters. I've experienced that. If I've ever had problems, I phoned him, and like I said, my biggest regret is that night where it was one of the biggest fights of my life. I weren't well at all. I shouldn't be nowhere near a fucking boxing ring. Certain people should have pulled me out. They didn't. But I do know if Frank knew, he would have. And I think again, I don't. This is me thinking, and I'm. I get the impression that Daniel is controlled by his dad. Everything's run through his dad. Everything is thing. So I can't see Frank coming, and I don't think he wants to come between them.
yeah.
But I couldn't see him being allowed to dictate, which in sometimes a manager that's what it should be, not your father. So I don't know, mate.
End on how we should end on Enzo. I think after that one, it's taken a little bit away of just how majestic Oleksandr Usyk was on the night and is as a fighter. Where would you rank him, Enzo?
As what, an all time great?
Yeah,
Mate, I've said this before. Pound for pound lists and great lists are very subjective. They're mostly people's opinions, not facts.
yeah,
Uh, and what I like to say is he is the greatest of his era. For me, the goat is Leonard. I'm a bigger Durant, but the goat is Leonard. that's my opinion. That's my opinion. All I will say, Duran was the GOAT, the lightweight of that era.
Yeah,
Lennon was the GOAT, the welter of that era. Hagler was the GOAT, middleweight of that era.
middleweight. Yeah,
Mike Tyson in his era was the GOAT. Lennox was after Tyson. When you look at things properly, Lennox was the GOAT of that era. You know, it was it was eras where people are the best. At the moment, undoubtedly, Alexander Usyk is the best of his era.
well said. Enzo, last one about you.
Go on.
Obviously, we talk a lot. We talk a lot away from the camera. You know, you're an engaging fella. You know, you're boxing inside out. Why aren't you on the microphone, mate?
Mate, I love boxing. You know, I love boxing. I've got 50 amateur kids. I got six pros. I put on two or three shows a year, the big shows. I got loads of seniors. And I can talk boxing all day long. I like to think I know what I'm talking about. I like to think that when I I do the commentary, I think I break it down simply for the layman who doesn't really know technical terms. So, you know, I always get great feedback, but for some reason, I don't get used. Maybe I speak the truth too much. I don't know.
Well, that's refreshing in the current era, Enzo. So hopefully it's not too long before we see you behind the mic.
Well, if it is, it is. It's done. They done. It's you know, I love boxing. I'll always be involved in boxing, and you know, I love talking about boxing. I know people love you listening to me talking about
Yeah,
boxing. But again, mate, I'm not gonna kiss ass to get a job to get some work. That's not my way. Like,
yeah. Well, you're always welcome here, Enzo.
cheers, Steve.
Enzo, it's always a joy to catch up with you, mate. I do appreciate your time, fella.
Top man, mate. Top man.
All right, look after yourself, Enzo.
Ta-ra, Steve.